Today we're going to be making a DIY bodysuit. It's pretty easy. All you need is a dress pattern or a top pattern for a knit fabric. So something like the Margot dress pattern is what I'm using in this video. You're going to need your stretchy knit fabric, some elastic, some snaps, and that's pretty much it. So let's get into it. First, you're going to want to grab your swimsuit. You're going to want to make a marking where your back is. Then you're going to trace the front as well, making sure to fold under the fabric, and you're going to do this on the fold. So you're not actually going to trace the whole bodice, but you're going to trace just a half of it. And then you're going to add your seam allowance, so adding 1/2 inch to the line you just drew. Then you can take your curved ruler and you can straighten out those lines, and then you're going to cut out your pattern piece. So this gives you the bodice front and back. Now we're going to just make sure everything's on grain, and we're going to start cutting out our pattern. Alright, so what we have right here is we're just going to sew down this seam, and that'll create the bottom portion of this. Then we're going to sew on these flimsy things to the front, and then we'll attach the shoulder seams. So we're going to pin these this way, so you can see this pattern piece is supposed to be laid this way. We're going to just pin it like so on both sides, and then we're going to leave a 1/2 inch opening right here so that we can turn up the neckline. Now we're just going to pin the shoulder seams together and sew those using a zigzag stitch. And now we'll sew them. Alright, we're back from sewing, and now I'm going to take some twill tape and I'm going to put it on either side of the shoulder seams to stabilize them. I like to do this so that my shoulders don't stretch out. And now I'm going to pin up the sides and use a zigzag stitch to stitch those all together. And we'll start sewing seams of the armholes. We'll do this using a zigzag stitch. After this, we're going to lengthen our stitch length to 3, and then I'm going to slowly use a straight stitch for gathering so that when I put my sleeve into the sleeve cap, it can gather all together. Now we're flipping the bodice inside out and the sleeves right sides out, and we're going to put those two together to attach the sleeves to the bodice. This was a really finagly process, and it took a really long time to get it. I feel like it was just because of the fabric and how drapey it was. Here you can see that I'm slowly pulling up the stitch to gather the sleeve into the sleeve cap.
So we have our leotard, basically, our bodysuit, and we're going to put elastic in.
So we have this. This is the crotch portion, so the front of the bodysuit. This is the back. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take a piece of elastic and I'm gonna measure it out. So to do that, I'm just gonna, since I know I'm gonna pin this in here anyway, and I'm aligning it with the edge, I'm just gonna pin this portion down, and then I'm gonna kind of trace over it. All right, so it's about yay long. Take 1 inch off from where my finger is and cut there. So that's about here. And then I'm gonna make another one of those pieces because I'm not gonna reinvent the wheel. So now what we're gonna do is we know that we're gonna find the center of this elastic. So we're gonna untwist and put the two together, the two bottoms together, and then we're gonna mark this right here. I'm just gonna use a pen to do it, but you can use a marker, some kind of fabric pen, whatever. And that's gonna go right there on that seam. And by doing this, we're gonna make sure that the tension is even all the way around the leg band. And I'll show you how to do that on the machine so that you just have to stretch a little while you're sewing. And there you have it. All right, so all we need to do is zigzag in the elastic, and I'm gonna just gently stretch as I go along. We're not gonna twist the elastic like I have it right here. And you're just gonna lightly pull on this and get it to stay on the edge. I finished this on the other side and had to rip out a bunch of stitches and do it over and over again, but ultimately it's done. I think getting it into the machine is probably the hardest part initially at least. It's like, look at how slick and slide this is. All right, now all we have to do is turn this under like this and you'll get that fresh, clean seam. Now, normally if this was gonna show on the outer side of the garment, I would use a double needle, a double twin, I think it's called a twin needle actually, and I would just stitch over those two lines so it would give me this nice seam. But since this isn't gonna show underneath, I'm just going to fold it over and continue with my zigzag stitch. So it's a little dark, but maybe you can see this. So this is the inside and this is what the outside looks like. Now we're gonna just fold this crotch seam over once and then twice and stitch this in place. This will give us a little finished edge for our snap closure. Now we're gonna finish the edges. I'm going to use my twin needle and I'm gonna turn under the cuffs twice and stitch that in place, and then around the neckline I'm gonna do the same. And finally we sew on the snaps. And here's the final look. I think this is so chic. I really like it. I will say it's a little loose on the top, which I'm not a fan of, and when I bend over it kind of gapes, or if I curl my shoulders in, it gapes. But overall, I'm really pleased with how this turned out. I do have more of this material, and I think I'm gonna make something else that's a little less revealing on the top. And I feel like this will be paired really well with this nice bag. So yeah, feeling good. And look, my shoes match.